Reiger, and she is owns the Artistry of Change, and it is speaking and coaching. Is that right?
Yes, and I help change leaders lead change in organizations as well as in their own businesses, because we're all helping people change. So many people who are coaches, consultants, facilitators, trainers, speakers, you're in the job of persuading people, and you want to do it in a collaborative way so that it works for them to change. So that's why it's called the Artistry of Change.
Yes. I'm sure you had many vocal impressions and expressions, changes, inflections in your voice to get the results that you want.
Well, yes, there's many things that help people be willing to open their minds and change. Those included.
Well, let's go through a few of the things that would be included in that.
Yeah, well, if you're speaking to a group, obviously, if you're a small business person, you're speaking to a group because you want to open people's minds to the idea of hiring you or buying your products or working with you and seeing you as a leader in your field. So usually you have to take them on an educational journey as to why they would even want to listen to you and why what you have to share would be useful in their lives. How are you solving their problem? So the content is actually the most powerful piece. Then how you say it is just sort of the window dressing, I would say. And that's what a lot of people don't think. They think, public speaking is all about standing up there and not saying too many times. But I tell you, a lot of issues around public speaking go away when you're really clear what you're going to say, and you know that what you're going to say is of real interest to the people listening. All of a sudden, they'll sort of overlook all kinds of, weird vocal patterns or the fact your hair doesn't look right that day. But if you're solving a problem for them,
you've got their attention.
You've got their attention, yeah.
So the big part of that, of course, as a marketing person, I tell people it's their story.
Yes.
It's like when people connect with that story, they'll connect with you and they'll follow you to most places.
Right.
So what's your story? How did you learn yourself to be such a great speaker?
Well, my story, I always believe in the purpose story, why you do what you do. It makes people want to draw in and be part of your tribe. Well, I got into it in university, actually. I was in university and I had done some theater and some marketing, and this company was looking for somebody who would do a youth leadership program and take thousands of freshmen at college through all these icebreaker games. And so you had to be up on this big stage with music, and you got to take all these, shy freshmen on their first day on campus and go run around and find, 3 people born the same month as you, and find out their birthday and find out, what they're majoring in. And then by the end of an hour and a half of that, people feel more comfortable because, they know some people and their names and stuff. So they wanted me to do that, and they trained me how to do that. And then they sent me all over North America, and I had to stand up in front of thousands of 18-year-olds and motivate them to go from scared and shy to a big, thriving community of friends in 90 minutes. So
90 minutes?
I had 90 minutes with them. Wow. So it was do or die, right? It's a tough audience, right? And 18-year-olds don't like what you're doing. They're heartless. They'll just let you know right away.
And it's going to become an eternity very fast.
That's right. So that's right. So in the beginning, when you're sort of awkward with it, as you always are when you first start public speaking, people forget. They go, I tried public speaking once and I wasn't good at it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, when are you good at anything the first time you do it? It's like never, right? So I had to get out there, and I was bad on several occasions. People walked out and booed and heckled. It was like, okay, either I leave and decide I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to, put on my big girl pants and, find a way to make it work. So I think I actually felt forced into that role because the company had bought all my flights and all my hotel rooms and all the venues were booked and thousands of kids were coming out, and if I didn't show up, a lot of people would look bad and a lot of money would be lost. So I kept going, and I had 12 in a row over like 2 weeks. So I would go from one city to the next. I had to be on a plane and then drive in a car and do another one and sleep in a hotel and get up early and do the same thing. And so by the last one, I was actually getting good. So it was sort of trial by fire.
Yeah. You're sounding like how Chippy Apps comes around to developing apps there by the Scrum method. Is like you start and it may suck at first until you actually figure out, okay, now we got something going here.
Yeah.
Everybody starts that way.
Yeah.
It's a matter of if you start.
Yeah, if you ask any of the great speakers in the world what it was like the first times that they spoke, they'll all tell you, oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. Even the first 10, 12, 20 times. You're bad, you just are. And the difference is between the people who keep getting up there and trying to make it work.
Yeah. So what's the largest audience that you've been in front of?
4,000 people, which is fun actually. It's fun to do 4,000 because if you tell a joke and only 10% of the audience like it, if you're only in a group of 10, one person will laugh. If you're in a group of 4,400 laugh. I hope I did my math right on that.
Wow. Yeah, that could become 400 in a group of 4,000. It could become quite contagious.
Yeah, you feel like this rock star. And
yeah, I understand the rock star part.
Yeah, it's encouraging, and they're with you. So it's really great to do bigger groups.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you asked me why I do what I do.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I think because I actually went from being quite bad at public speaking to making my living at it. And I've had so many people over the years go, how do I do what you do? And, I'm not good at this. And I tell them over and over again, well, it's just practice. If you want to do it, if you feel a calling to do it, it's sort of like going on. It was a massive personal growth journey for me. I think, like anything, running a business, or there's something about speaking where you have to gather your thoughts, figure out what you're going to say, get up in front of a room. There's a lot of pressure, right? It's like doing a sport, a competitive sport, right? You have to really play an inner game with yourself to be your best self when the pressure's on, the stakes are high if you do it bad, right? So that alone, I think, it changed everything in my life. It made me way more confident in all areas of life, not just speaking, but in personal relationships, with my family, with everything. And it also made me kind of believe in myself in a way I hadn't believed in myself before,
Yeah.
I kind of thought of myself, it raised my self-esteem, it changed my self-image. And everyone that I take people on quite big journeys. I work with some really high-end speakers now and newer people. And everybody by the end of the journey, they're like, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I'm a better person.
What's it like working with, you don't have to mention any names, what's it like working with somebody that's like already a big name and you're coaching them and you're speaking?
Oh, well, it's great. It depends on the person, of course, but most people are like, the irony is that even people who make a lot of money speaking, have been doing it for years, they're just as insecure as new people.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes it's more pressure because they have this reputation to protect and they have all this expectation on them that a new person doesn't. And so I'm usually working with them when they want to come up with a new speech or they want to go to another level, and so they have to go back into beginner's mind and be bad again, and they're used to being good, and they don't like that. But that's why they will work with someone like me, so that I get them past the crappy stage.
We all have something that, that we can correct somewhere. And sure, even sitting here right now, because you're a coach and you teach these sort of things, like you probably pick up on little things that I do that it's like, I can fix that.
I'm not thinking that right now, but sometimes when I'm sitting at a conference and I see one speaker after another, and you go, oh wow, that person just gave, I know they got paid $20,000 to speak, and they were bad. And you're like thinking, wow.
I had to get that out of there because you are the expert, and I know deep down in myself the things that I have trouble with.
Well, we all have our things to work on, right?
So.
But it's sometimes the things that you think are kind of not good. Sometimes they can be endearing and not something you actually necessarily have to fix.
Yeah.
So it just depends if it's distracting for people or not.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing to keep in mind. So, best practices.
Best practices for speaking, for getting out there speaking. Well, I'm a big believer in really thinking through and writing out what you want to say. See, what a lot of people do who come to me is they've realized that making it up the night before, staying up all night and making a bunch of notes and then getting up the next morning and having to speak, bad idea. That's when you lose your confidence, because you know they haven't really thought through what you're going to say, and then it's not going to be very coherent. So take the time to work on it, and don't use like a high stakes audience to do your first time at a new presentation. And a lot of people do that, right?
I did that once myself.
I've done it too. I mean,
yeah, it was a horrible experience. The tech went wrong. It's like, that was the big thing. The tech went wrong.
Yeah, so the tech can go wrong. You can forget what you're going to say. You haven't looked over the room. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. So that's why you need a bunch of rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't think that. And if you can rehearse on your own, great. Most people, they don't have the discipline to rehearse on their own, and that's why someone will bring someone like me in to work with them.
So rehearsing would be the best practice here.
Yeah. Create a little, scenario where it's similar to what you'll be dealing with.
I think it was you, correct me if I'm misquoting you, I think it was you that you said that you had to get your mind in the right mind frame as though your brain had already done it.
Yeah.
So you rehearse it so that your brain says, I've done this before, this is no problem now.
Yeah.
That was you, right?
Well, that's called mental rehearsal. They do it in sports. I'm sure you've heard of it. They have, they'll have two groups of basketball players who will practice doing the shot, and then they'll have the ones who will mentally rehearse. So they just sit in the chair, they imagine themselves doing the shot, and then they had a third group that did both. So they imagined, and the ones who actually did it, and the ones who just imagined, the ones who actually did it did improve just about the same amount, and the ones who did both improved dramatically. So you don't want to just practice, you want to actually take yourself there. Partly because you're right, then your confidence goes up because it's like you've done it before. It's like a pilot doing a simulator to practice flying. They're going to be way more confident than they just have to fly a plane without ever having done it before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like you create a simulator in your own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'll just say to people, okay, so imagine a room. Imagine the people sitting there. Imagine yourself walking up. Feel yourself, you have a clicker. It's for your slideshow. Imagine that. Imagine yourself breathing and feeling grounded and confident. Hear your voice, sounding, good and confident. And then I actually create little tapes for people. And they listen over and over and over and over and over, and I take them there with all their senses, right? See yourself there, hear yourself, Feel the clothes on your body, feel the temperature in the room, see the smiling, happy faces, appreciative audience members, see this, hear a thunderous round of applause.
Wow.
I even go so far as like see them all getting to a standing ovation as you finish your speech.
I could have used you when I was in rock and roll. Wow.
And more often people will get a standing ovation if they mentally rehearse getting one, because it trains your brain to start thinking of what you could do that would invite a standing ovation, as opposed to if you just don't do that.
This is quite the education. I may have to bring you back a couple more times to really get through all this. This is quite a bit. I knew you were fantastic at what you do. I've seen you command a room a couple times, and it's like I just never thought how deep it could go. I'm sold on her classes. What about you guys? So contact information, because people need to know how to get a hold of you so they can get the classes to actually, so you can teach them how to public speak the right way.
Right. Artistryofchange.com is how you get to my site. And I have all sorts of free webinars and free training, just so you see whether working with me would be a good fit, and you get this free training in the meanwhile. And then I have different coaching programs, group, individual, and all kinds of books and audios and videos too.
Okay. Is there a Facebook page?
Yes, Artistry of Change Facebook page.
Oh, it's all Artistry of Change. Remember, Artistry of Change. Carla Reiger, Artistry of Change. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michael.
Please keep me going and click on the subscribe button now.